Hey everybody, welcome to Creating Scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Today I'm working on a whole bunch of projects actually. I'm trying to get my Akron-Canton Airport version 3 done. I'm trying to get my John Glenn International Airport version 3 done. So I'm still working on that stuff. Also, I'm working on some science videos. I'm working in Blender and doing some 3D modeling for planets and things like that. So I got that coming up. But I am working on a new scenery pack, and that will be uploaded probably a couple weeks maybe. But I am creating scenery packs for the Deep Space Network that NASA here in the United States has. There is a facility in Goldstone, California, which is outside of Barstow, actually. Goldstone is the name of the facility. That's just outside of Barstow, California, and there's a facility outside of Madrid, Spain, and there's another facility outside Canberra in Australia. It's a series of 34-meter telescopes, radio dishes. There's even a 70-meter dish. So anyway, I kind of have I got some projects going on, and so I'm trying to get everything facilitated. But I'm currently working on the DSN 34-meter dish. At all three of those sites use the same thing. To kind of show you what that system looks like is I've printed a 3D model of it. So you have the 34-meter dish, and you got the quad pod that holds the part of the reflector system, and then it has the elevation or attitude segment of it, and then there is the base that also does the azimuth, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I am taking this 3D model of the system that I have, and I'm converting that into a Microsoft Flight Simulator model, and I can show you the modeling part. But since I've been doing a lot of work on dish type safe shapes, and actually like rings around Saturn, and the little tiny strip of ring that's around Jupiter and the other gas giants, I want to show you a way to create to apply a texture that is in the shape of a disc or a ring, okay? Because if you notice, all right, the screen has a radius, but each individual component of the screen follows the radius or the diameter of the dish, okay? And you can think about a planet too, a ring around a planet, that the stripes, the different ring layers like of Saturn, they're consistent in their radius around the planet. And each one of these lines, like for instance, this line right here is parallel with this line all the way around. Some of you guys might have a difficulty trying to figure out how you do that, how you apply a texture that is north, south, east, and west. Let me bring you up the texture. Okay, so here's the screen texture that I'm using for this particular dish. Let me make it. This is in Krita. I've created it in Krita. I think I need to make another background so you can see what we're looking at. So if I go to layer, new, let's add a new paint layer, and let's move our background, which is not really a background. Let me create a box around here and just put some dark color behind there so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, we'll use this gray. Stop doing that. And I'll paintbrush it in. Drop the bucket. There you go. That kind of gives you an idea what that screen looks like, except I have a transparent background, so I can do that alpha blend trick that I showed you how to make a fence or railings for Microsoft Flight Simulator using Krita or in Blender. So anyway, this is the screen texture, and now if we look at the actual screen, the screen is it's three-dimensional cone shape in this particular case. All right, so what we're trying to do is create a texture that actually wraps in the fashion, or like a map projection. I'm a cartographer, so I take a spherical object and I put it on a flat piece of paper. Okay, that's basically what you're doing when you're applying textures, is you're changing the map projection to get that to fit. Now, the thing about Blender is we're doing it the opposite. We're taking a flat piece of paper and we're trying to project it onto this three-dimensional surface. Could be a sphere, could be a ring like a donut, or it could be, a combination of both, which is this dish that we have, right? Okay, so we want this two-dimensional texture. We want this two-dimensional texture to follow the projection of our dish. Okay, so I'm going to show you an easy way to do this. To try to get this to curve, it's kind of a pain in the butt, right? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to recreate what I just did, but I'm not going to do it to scale. So I'm going to turn my my reflector screen off. I'll turn the frame off just so we have nothing there. All right, and I got this empty. Well, that's irrelevant, but there's my beginning right there. There's my 3D cursor. I'm gonna add a sphere. Okay, so I'm gonna Shift A, and I don't have keycasts, so I'll turn those on. There you go. All right, we're gonna do a Shift A, and we're gonna add a UV sphere. Okay, now the UV sphere, we're not really talking about. We're not actually modeling right now, so how many subdivisions or all that kind of stuff is kind of irrelevant. Now, by default, your divisions will have an even number, okay? And if you have an even number of divisions, your center line is going to be, no, it's not, is it? Let me do a tilde F. There we go. Yeah. See this line right here? Let me turn lines on. This line right here goes right down the middle. No, it doesn't. It's right there. I thought it was. I've already done it. That's why. All right. So I'm going to go back to 144. Sorry about that. Okay. So this series of faces going down the middle of the sphere is actually all you want of this sphere. So if you hear some rattling noise, the wind's blowing, my windows are open, it's a beautiful day. So I am going to turn on X-ray mode, and I'm going to go to polygon select. Oh, I'm not in edit mode. There we go. Now I'm in edit mode. I'm going to polygon select, and I'm going to select all the polygons above the equator, so to speak, and all the polygons below. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to get them all selected. There we go. All right. So I only want this center ring, and it's standing up. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of those faces, so I just have that ring. Okay. Now, in the case of my satellite dish, okay, I'm going to end up changing the shape of this, right? But when we apply our texture, we want to do that first before we start projecting our shape. Okay, so here I have a nice, they're rectangular all the way around. All right, they're not converging, they're not, doing this, that kind of stuff. All right, so they're nice rectangles. So at this point, I'm going to get out of edit mode and turn off ghost, and we're going to go into UV editing. So I'm going to go to UV editing. Now I already have that applied, so let me get rid of that. There we go. All right, so I'm going to hit A to select all those faces of this ring. Now it's a vertical ring. It's not a horizontal ring around like you would see it around a planet. All right, or a satellite dish or whatever you're doing. Okay, but what we're going to do is we are going to go to UV editing, and we're going to if I do a smart UV unwrap, I'm going to get my ring like this. Okay, this is how it's projecting all of these polygons. All right, and they are two-dimensional. All right, just like our image, and that's what we want. All right, now I'm going to add in my screen material that I already have. All right, so I don't have to recreate. But anyway, it's just a standard MSFS texture that has a transparent background. So you want to make sure that the blend mode is alpha blend, so the black is transparent. All right, and I also turned on something else. I also turned on double-sided so I can get it on both sides. All right, see how if I didn't do it on both sides, we would have the whole thing would be transparent from the inside. Okay, like the normals. It's only putting the texture in the directions of the normals. So if we're in back of the direction of the normals, we're seeing everything transparent. So that's why you do double-sided when you're doing these grates and stuff. Okay, now I might want to rotate these polygons on the image so these are not long up and down but long in the XY direction. So I'm going to come over here, Shift A, and then I'm going to rotate 90, and then that makes them like this. And then we can scale them. All right, scale them and make them as big as we want. All right, I'm going to make them kind of large for this tutorial. All right, so I've scaled them, and then if I go back into layout and go into material mode, you'll see that we have our transparent grate. Okay, like I said, I did a video on making these transparent grates a while back. All right, but we are specifically talking about how to get this to match and converge at the center of our dish, right? Or if this was a planet, converge at, as it moves. So all the rings are parallel in radius. I hope I'm not over explaining it. So we want this to gradually taper into the center, but keep its orientation correct according to the projection, right? All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm not going to use my dishes. I'm not going to be precise. You'll get the idea when you see it. So we're going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to edit edges. And I'm going to select this bottom edge with Alt and ring select that bottom edge, and then I am going to scale that so it goes in. And now look at the pattern. See what it's doing? Okay, it's stretching. It's keeping the image. It's keeping the image the way it was in the original UV map. Okay, this edge is not changed, so the scale of the image that we have put on the UV map stays the same where I don't have the edges selected. But down here on the bottom, I'm making this area of the image smaller, but it's gonna do it proportionally, and it's gonna take the image and scale it according to the edges of each one of these faces. Okay, that's how that's working. All right, so let's get a bigger image here. So let's do a ring select and select this top one, and we're going to GZ. We're going to move that up. See how it scales it? See how it's stretching? Okay, so let's stretch it this way. Let's go up, and then let's do an Alt select on the bottom ring of edges, and now we'll scale those inward. Scale inward, drag those in, and notice how each one of these lines are parallel to one another. Now there might be some discrepancies in the UV map. That's why we're getting a seam over here and we're getting some mismatching. But I'm making this thing so small that you're not going to be able to tell that anyway. But it does a better job of making that texture, which was square. It was 4096 square, all right? But since we're warping each one of these faces, it also warps the texture along with it. Okay, so here we have that. So like I said, some of these mismatched I'm not too concerned with, because when I actually do my screen, it's really small. Okay, and I don't have to recreate that using actual geometry in Blender. I'm using a texture to do it. Okay, so I hope you see how you can manipulate a square texture or rectangle texture and make it follow the shape of the faces. Now, if this was a planet, for instance, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to sphere, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and turn back on my reflector screen and my assembly because I'm working on it. All right, and then I'm just going to resave this project, save, and I'm going to open it up another project, save. All right, I'm going to open it up another project and I'll show you the results of that. I'll be right back. So really quick, this is a project that I'm working on for one of my science videos that I'm doing, and I'm making our solar system, teach kids about the solar system and that kind of stuff. All right, so I have Saturn that I've created. Now I'm going to redo the ring because I didn't, these are straight lines and I don't like that, so I'm going to make it tighter, you know, more polygons, kind of like I did with my radar dish there, my satellite dish, whatever. Okay, but it's the same process. This polygon, it was the equator faces of a sphere, and then scaled it, applied a texture, the striping of Saturn's rings. I applied that to that particular string of faces, and then I moved one edge out, one edge in, and then I brought the two edges so they're on the same plane. Okay, and that takes the texture and makes it ring. Now let me show you what that texture looks like. So here in Krita, I have opened the image or the spectral data on the rings of Saturn. Matter of fact, I just got an updated one from NASA that's more has tighter resolution. But it's a rectangular texture with the different divisions of the rings. Okay, now this doesn't show you all of the rings, but it's the striping of the rings, and this outside being the outer ring, it's a lot thinner as it gets out there at the end. Okay, but I wanted this rectangular image to show up correctly in my blender. Okay, and then there's another layer for transparency and stuff like that. So I applied that. That's why you can kind of see through them, but that's irrelevant. So anyway, that is how you can take a rectangular image and work with Blender to create that diverging lines like that radar dish is. So I hope you learned something new in this video. Please subscribe, hit the like, comment, hit that notification bell for upcoming videos. And if you are inclined, you can support me by buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. So I hope you got a little tip for today, and I will see you guys on the next video. We'll see you later.